Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So we last left off, we were mentioning two ayat from the Quran with regards to knowledge, and that sound Islamic knowledge and practice of that knowledge will rectify our communities and stop the disease of hizbiyah, and make a person to be on clarity and bayina, and to be a furqan bayna truth, to be a criterion between truth and falsehood, and give them the criterion to distinguish truth between falsehood, so that when they see fitna arising, that they're able to deal with that, because knowledge helps you so that every time a fitna arises, you're not running and being shot around the world like a ping pong. And in relation to that, I'm going to mention something which may appear to be off topic, but it is very relevant because we're studying this of why we're in disarray. A great example is some of the recent fitna we have. A particular brother was seen in a picture, and we already talked about this prior to this, in a picture with people who some of the students make tabdi of them, a particular organization, and I have my own concerns about this organization, but that's neither here nor there. And so then the enemies of this well-known student of knowledge from Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, who's from the Mutamassikeen bi Kitabillah wa Sunnat Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as we see, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of judges, that this individual is being belittled, and so this confuses the youth, and this causes what? Goes back to the title of our treatise, disarray in the Salafi, disarray in the Salafi Da'wa. And so then the youth become confused. They don't know how to deal with this, the madness that's going on. How should they react when they see these things going on? They don't know because there's so much confusion. And then they want to get fatwa from the ulama and this and that and the other for clarity. But if they would just deal with the simple matters and stick to the foundation principles in studying the religion, they would have less confusion. It's not necessary for them to get, if they know this individual to be from Ahl Sunnah, and they know the cut and paste generation that we deal with, and they know that people will not give excuses to the du'at. And we've studied how many treaties, and the scholars have talked about it so many times, of having husn al-dhan, having good thought about the du'at, and good thought about the ulama, and good thought about the du'at, the people calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the students of knowledge, and those people you are known to be on the sunnah, to not rush to make a hukm on them. And in fact, if you need clarity in these issues, you should go to that individual or communicate with that individual, but you shouldn't rush to get a fatwa from everyone else. So I want to mention this because this is very relevant, because you see the people in their cut and paste generations and their fancy videography and putting together these fancy and high-tech videos to destroy people. They're so high-tech, you wonder how much knowledge they're seeking when they have this much time to make very fascinating and fantastic choreographed cut and paste videos about destroying people. So when you see people doing this, then you should know that they are a people of disarray predominantly. They are not a people of rectification, and you want to run from that and keep your husn al-dhan for Ahl Sunnah. So this gets back to our treatise again, moving back to the topic at hand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيَعْلَمُكُمُ اللَّهُ. Fear Allah, and Allah will teach you. So letting us know that if you stay away from that which is prohibited and enjoin those things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded, then Allah will teach you. Allah will raise you up. Your status gets raised up by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not by how many YouTube views you get, and it's not because you spent 20 years studying in such and such place, but it's going to be the taqwa. That the station that you want, because the station you want is the station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not with the eyes of the people. The people raise up how many people from Ahl Bid'ah, How many people from Ahl al-Jahil that are raised up? Allah's raised them up. And the general Muslims give them qabul. Even the non-Muslims give them qabul. They accept them. That is not a proof that they're on khair and that they're on sunnah. So that raising up, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you want Allah to raise, you want to raise your status with Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is why the Salaf used to say about knowledge, talab al-ilm, talab al-jannah, that seeking knowledge is seeking paradise. And may Allah bless us with that. Ameen. The next ayat that we mentioned, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, in tattaqullaha yaj'al lakum furqanan. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who believe, that if you fear Allah, Allah will make for you, or make you, a criterion. And what is the criterion for? To distinguish between truth and falsehood. Fear Allah as much as you can, seek knowledge as much as you can, and a lot of these issues will become much clearer for you. You won't have to ask every single time there's a new fitna, because you won't be rushed and slapped around like a ping pong. And this is the danger. Going back to the treaties that Imam al-Albani was talking about, this is why the da'wah was in disarray in his time, and the da'wah is in disarray in our time. Because so many people without knowledge are speaking. And now with social media, everyone has a platform, a free platform. And this can be a cause of great fitna. So moving back to what Imam al-Albani said, he said, so if, as we hope, they are sincere, meaning those people who are sincere about seeking knowledge, they are sincere, they must cling to the correct knowledge-based principles, and that the person who has not reached the level of having correct knowledge does not have the audacity to, that he keeps himself out of sight from delving into that, and he entrusts knowledge to the one who knows, meaning the scholars. Very important that it's not necessary for us to get in and speak about every single affair. If we did, you would only have time to speak about affairs, because trust me, there's so many affairs. When you get Arabic and you get into even the affairs with the scholars and between the scholars and the issues and the things out there, you will see a whole nother level of, unfortunately, discord and disharmony, because there is hatred and enmity even amongst some of the scholars of Ahl Sunnah. That there are some websites, they are just constantly attacking each other back and forth. And they have the same minhaj. In fact, they have the same minhaj, I'm telling you. So many of you find this, and you find some of the ulama that they can't let some of these fitnas die, and they just keep a new book, a new rasail, a new statement about so-and-so, and so-and-so is busy with a new statement and a new rasail against the sheikh. So two mashayikh that are known for the sunnah, and it keeps going. And then so the students, they even go greater and they delve into those issues. But if instead we restrict ourselves, when only it's necessary sometimes to speak about certain issues that's relevant for us, or maybe we're asked about it and we may see relevance to speak about it. Otherwise, it's not going to be every question. And you find from the ulama that they don't even answer every question. That sometimes if they see it's from a person of fitna, or they see it's a fitna-based question, they won't even answer it. Likewise, the readers for some of the ulama, they won't even bring those questions up. They'll see a question, oh, this is about so-and-so. They won't even ask the sheikh. And so this shows us how important it is to not involve ourselves in every affair, and that we stick to those affairs that we have some knowledge about. And then the Imam said, in this regard, there's a narration which has been reported in the books of hadith. I think it was Abdurrahman ibn Abi Layla, may Allah have mercy upon him, who was one of the major scholars of the Salaf Salih. He said in the mosque, and maybe he was referring to the Prophet's masjid, I met, and then he mentioned a specific number of companions. I forget the number now. So when one of them would be asked, and then someone interjected who was sitting with Imam al-Albani, he said 70, mentioning that there's, you'll find in the books that it was mentioned that it was 70 different Sahaba, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who asked to give a fatwa. So Imam al-Albani said, maybe it was. He said, I met 70 companions in the mosque. When one of them would be asked a question or asked for a fatwa, he would wish that another one of the scholars from those companions who are present would shoulder responsibility for it. And the reason for that was because they feared that they would make a mistake, and thus as a result would cause other people to fall into making a mistake. So they would wish to not have to take this responsibility, and that someone else would. SubhanAllah, look at this, is the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. Look at them. radiallahu ta'ala, they were fearful of making fatawa. But some of us don't even know the Arabic language, don't know the Arabic language well, don't know anything about the deen, never studied the deen, have never sat with scholars, and we are easy to make fatawa. So-and-so is a mubtadi'ah. Oh, what did so-and-so do at that masjid? You saw him with who? Mubtadi'ah. This one, mubtadi'ah. This one, kafir. This one is close to apostasy. This one, dal mudil. This one is misguided and misguiding others. Subhanallah, we are quick. We are quick, brothers and sisters. And I'm telling you, youth, learn from our mistakes, from the people of my generation and the people before me. Learn from our mistakes. Don't be quick. Don't even spend your time. And this is specifically, if any students are listening, students of knowledge, or people who will be students of knowledge in the universities, take your time and benefit. Allah has favored you over so much of Allah's creation. And just seek knowledge. Don't even waste time in gatherings where the people are just speaking about this one and speaking about this one. Benefit from your time while you're there. If you're in Medina, if you're in Mecca, if you're in Riyadh, if you're in Egypt, if you're in some other country and you're seeking knowledge, know that Allah has favored you to have a chance to get fiqh fi deen, to get basira and ilm and insight. Don't rush to take that knowledge and apply it on individuals and apply it to situations if you don't have the right to do so. Don't rush to answer questions. Don't rush to be in the limelight. Allah will raise you. Allah will give you that chance if it's worthy, if it's something for you. Don't rush and don't worry about that. Seek knowledge and benefit and raise yourself and be fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will teach you. Imam al-Albani said, as for now, then the situation, most unfortunately, is the polar opposite. So he's saying it's the polar opposite, meaning it's the opposite. Now people rush to make fatawa. Youth rush to get into issues. Youth rush to make a hukm on someone. Youth rush to use their social media platforms to spread and cut and paste and make new videos and make new sound clips to spread around to people and cause fitna and discord in the ummah. We're not saying that it's never necessary to make audios and this and that and the other, and to spread the statements of the scholars and of the students of knowledge. That's not what we're saying at all. But what we're saying is your intention should be sound, and it should be something that's useful for the people. Make sure that what you're spreading is truly al-nafiya. It's truly beneficial knowledge, not because your hizb said we should talk about this one, so make a cut and paste video about him and make it. Put a police hat on him. Put a clown suit on this one. Make this one, make his statements and cut and paste it and make it like this. We don't find that from the ulama. Even those ulama that may be more vocal than others, we don't see them doing that. They don't do that. So why are people who are supposed to be students of theirs? Why are people who are supposed to be students of students theirs involving themselves in this garbage? Wallahu musta'an. Imam al-Albani said, and that is because of one reason, which is something I always mention, that this blooming which we now see for the book and the sunnah and the Salafi Da'wa is something new. This blossoming, which they call an awakening, has not been going on for a long time, such that these people can reap the fruits of this awakening or blossoming in themselves. Allahu Akbar. Namely, by being nurtured on the foundation of the book and the sunnah, and for them to then inundate with this correct nurturing based upon the book and the sunnah others who are around them, calling those closest to them firstly, and then those after them. We're going to start in the next sitting. We're going to start and we're going to read that again, because that deserves immense attention on our fitna. And I'm just going to end by briefly making a point with this, is that we've seen countless times, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Oh Allah, please forgive us. Oh Allah, please guide us. Oh Allah, bless us with ikhlas with the bat. But how many people, I've known people coming out of Damaj, coming out of different Maracas of Sunnah from around the world. I've known people from Jama Islamiyya, many students and graduates, especially from the years, I was there from 2003 to 2000, probably 2009 almost, or something like this. And then I came back to 2010, I believe. Been in Jeddah, seen students of knowledge from all over the world, in fact. And I know so many individuals, some of them, they didn't have the greatness of tarbiyah, meaning that they gained knowledge of the books, They can say قال الله وقال رسول صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم, and they can give you the aqwal of the Salaf sometimes. But in here, what appears to be the case is there was no rectification. And this is why Imam al-Albani, his da'wah was tarbiyah wa tasfiyah. That is tarbiyah, it's education, it's getting that ilm. Wa tasfiyah, and purification, purifying yourself. A lot of us, we didn't emphasize that. That wasn't, we thought that was tasawwuf. This shows how people were so incorrect, that our tarbiyah, and as many of our youth, their tarbiyah, what they're being exposed to immediately as they embrace the da'wah, is how to talk about this one, how to stay away from this one, how to make takfir of this one, how to make tabdi' of this one. This is their tarbiyah. And this is the danger, because there was no tasfiyah. There was no purification. So then we have people who were favored to graduate from these universities, and people who were favored to sit in the marakis al-ilm with ulama like Imam al-Wadi'i and others. And then what they came out with was foul, wicked speech. What they came out with, regular zina. What they came out with was regular craziness. And what they came out with was sometimes hizbiyah. That shows that what was in here was not rectified. So we need this rectification. And me, first and foremost, I need it more than you probably. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. May Allah bless us with a class with that. Ala sunnah. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushrika bika wa ana a'lam, astaghfiruka liman a'lamu. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with ilm al-nafiya wa rizqan tayyiba wa amal mutaqabbila. The ilm al-nafiya, to give us knowledge. Wa rizqan tayyiba, so we can spend it in the khair, in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa amal mutaqabbila, and accepted deeds, meaning righteous deeds, and that should be the thamarat, that should be the fruit of that knowledge, and that's why we want all of them. And may Allah bless us all with that. Ameen. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.